What's happening? Finally had some free time, so I'm gonna do myself, there we go. I'm gonna do myself a little bit of a reaction video. Hope you're doing well today. It's fucking cold and wet in New York. I can't stand it. But at least this weekend is not going to be fucking raining, so I can ride. Finally. It's like, for some reason in the springtime, it's like, it'll be clear and beautiful throughout the week. And then fucking come Saturday, it's just downpour. Every weekend. And every rider in New York is like, fuck this shit. So yeah, today we're going to be doing a reaction video. We're going to be looking at that channel that I always go to, is It's Complicated. I like that one because you're not getting performance, right? You're just getting regular people answering questions. You're not, not some coach trying to be somebody or some shit. So that's what's happening there. And yeah, so we're going to get into that. I've got a new website up, so check out the link in the bio of this video and every other video. Go to thedominancecademy.com. Everything that you need is there. There's stuff there for relationships, dating, program advice, BDSM, all kinds of good shit. So let's get this screen sharing going on. Let's see what we got here. Let's go like this. Share screen. Where am I? Oh, here we go. That's better. All right, let's check this out. I only listened to like the first couple of minutes of this, and I was like, all right, this one's pretty good. Let's see what these morons have to say. Theater mode. How about that? Does that fuck me up? No. Okay. Let's see.
Does the sexual liberation of women come at the expense of men's sexual liberation?
Absolutely not. You know what? I lied. It does.
Who does OnlyFans exploit more, men or women, and why?
Exploits women more, definitely, and they make more money doing it, that's why.
How could it exploit women if they're being rewarded for it and they're choosing to do it?
I think society tells them that they'll make money off of it, therefore it's an easier choice for them.
Women sign up for it like willingly, wanting to be a part of it, and then there's, I think, like 8 million men subscribed. So I think it's definitely exploiting men. However, the narrative is definitely exploiting.
Yeah, it's actually both, right? Like the women are, because you don't have to be against being exploited, right? Some people willingly walk into exploitation, and so it's more like a system, or the owners of OnlyFans are exploiting women, and they benefit from it, and the women are exploiting the men. So it's sort of like a trickle effect.
Women.
I guess men. Why? Because men are lonely, I think. I think men are lonely and they'll pay for just about anything.
So why is there so much talk about the exploitation of women, but we never talk about this exploitation of men?
Because
Oh, boo-hoo. Stop this nonsense. See, guys, we'll talk about, it's cherry picking, right? It's it's like selective outrage, like that sort of bullshit. Where in some contexts, they'll say, how is it that men and women can't be treated equally? We want equal treatment. Then in another context, they're like, but men should be the leaders. What the fuck?
because the men built the system, so they want to be exploited.
Would OnlyFans be successful if it wasn't fulfilling a need that men are being deprived?
No, it would not be successful.
I think it would still be successful. Men are just greedy. They're visual creatures.
Wait a second. He said deprived, right? So that deprived, like it's being taken away, right? Or prevented. Let's see what the meaning of deprived. Suffering a severe and damaging lack of basic material and cultural benefits. That's not the deprived. This is what I'm looking for. Deny. To deny a person or place the possession or use of something. And so he's upset that they're being denied, right? Like of sex. It's like, man, men aren't owed sex. Not all of you are going to fucking get laid. Not all of you are going to procreate. Like, that's just fucking life. That's like Darwin was right. Like, it's the survival of the fittest. And you know what? Not every species survives. Or not every like genome within the species survives. That's just life.
Why do you think there's so much talk about the exploitation of women, but we never talk about the exploitation of men?
I think because when women are exploited, I want to say it's usually without their consent, but I think it's complicated.
Like that's such a go-to answer for a lot of women, and you're hearing men and respond this way as well. Instead of just a straightforward answer, it's complicated or it depends. And I'm hearing more and more guys talk like this. They'll say, it's complicated or, it depends. And instead of just giving a straight fucking answer.
I think it's complicated.
Do you believe that sex is a need or a want?
Definitely a need.
It's a want.
Is it more of a need or a want for men or for women, and why?
I feel like for men, personally, I went quite a long time without it. I don't myself always enjoy it.
God,
so
she's
yeah.
scary.
Men are wired to want to like spread the seed, and I think men's brains are wired in a way where like instinctually you desire it more. And for women, like you can only get pregnant for 9 months at a time, right? So like you don't desire sex maybe as much as men do.
Yeah, see, this is like it's twisted up in a number of ways because yeah, she's right. The human male mind is wired to want to procreate, right? The thing is though is that doesn't take into account for many of those males for being losers. So your hindbrain doesn't realize that you're a fucking loser. It just says, I want to dump my seed into a female and make babies. Okay, that's what it's designed to do, right? Every organism has a primary drive of survival and adaptability. But that doesn't take into account the psychology of the minds that's attached to that hindbrain. Okay? And a lot of guys are straight up fucking losers, right? And that loserdom is not, your station in life and things of that nature. It's more so the mentality. And it's that same mentality that says men should be given access to women to have sex so that I can feel better. And so when you bring things into the realm of needs and wants, the guys will say, yes, I need this as a man, but they're not realizing that it's a purely psychological thing, right? Yes, sex is a physical function that we do in order to procreate. And frankly, to procreate, we don't even need to have sex. Every woman on the planet could be artificially inseminated and our race would just go on just fine. The human race would be totally fine, okay? For most guys, because most guys aren't men, they're underdeveloped, excuse me, they need sex for emotional reasons. They need sex to feel better about who they are. That's the reason why men are saying we need sex. But they either don't have that level of self-reflection or they're unwilling to admit what they know about themselves. And they're unwilling to because that just doesn't sound very good. So they change that around and then lean more on the science of things and look at the statistics and look at all this and look at all that. And that's why men should be having sex. It's like, no, you're just a loser. You want female validation. You don't like yourself very much. And if you had a girl approving of you, then you'd feel better. That's really what's going on for a lot of guys.
It's more of a need for men, more of a want for women. Women are very selective with who they want to have sex with, and men are, whoever it is goes.
If women didn't believe that sex was a need for men, why would so many women choose careers that rely on male lust?
Oh, and here's one other thing. Women do need sex, okay? Because as I've explained before, women very rarely can compartmentalize sex compartmentalize it against other parts of themselves. So which is their physical body, their mental body, and their emotional body. And depending on what your beliefs are, their spiritual body. All of these things are inextricably linked. So a woman may not want a widespread or may not have a widespread need for sex the way, say, men do, okay? They have a more of a sniper's angle on needing sex because it brings them to a closer, deeper version of themselves. And this is what they need. And they need this to come like as a conduit through one man. All right. Guys, it's not like a sniper. It's more like a shotgun with with buckshot in it. I want to just get a wide spread, and for the most part, this is why, say people like Genghis Khan, you know what I'm saying? Like he just fucked like crazy. Now, if a guy is more into his emotions, he's got issues, he needs connection and all that stuff. He has unresolved business going on. He's going to have a sniper just like a woman. He's going to need that connection in that way so that he can feel more grounded. That's something for women, right? That's not necessary for guys unless he's underdeveloped.
I think women do think it's a need for men, and I think they rely on it because they can make a lot of money, because men are always going to need it.
Well, I know for me, I'm an exotic dancer. I've been a dancer since I'm 19 years old. I'm from Toronto, but, the money, it's very lucrative.
Yo, it is. I've got a friend who's a dancer. She's, oh, geez, what is she, in her 20s, late 20s or something like that? And on a good night, she can make $5,000 in one night. There's just one night out of the week. So on a good week, because that'll just be like a Friday night or something like that. So if she works, say maybe 4 days a week, she can easily make $10,000 a week. $10,000 a week, right? Just by dancing around and shit. And she doesn't fuck the guys. She doesn't fuck any of the patrons. She has a boyfriend. He's like some rich doctor, some shit like that. And he doesn't give a shit. They spend weeks out in Bali and, whatever. But yeah, she makes a ton of money just dancing. Now, granted, she doesn't really want to continue it because she does realize that it has a limit. As she's getting older, it's going to be harder and harder to get jobs and to have stage time. So she's switching over into real estate. But the point is that she's making fucking buku dollars just for shaking her ass.
If we're going to be exploited either way, because women are exploited either way, might as well make some money.
Even if sex was just an urge, why are men pigs for wanting it when it's biology?
Because they don't care.
About what?
They don't care where they get it from.
Well, do you think that maybe men would care?
No, they're only considered pigs from women who are not attracted to those men that they are saying are pigs. It's kind of like that same thing about catcalling, right? If like a crazy, Quasimodo looking disgusting dude says, "Hey, nice dress," it's like, ew, he's catcalling me, call the cops, right? But if it's fucking Chad, then the catcalling is not catcalling. She's like, "Oh, tee-hee-hee, like he thinks I'm cute," right? It's the same sort of thing. So like, my girls, I can speak however the fuck I want. And they're like, "Oh my God, like talk more how you want to use me," right? It's not seen as an offense, but if there was no attraction to me at all, those very same words would be seen as an offense.
If they had more access to it? They would be more selective if they had more access to it.
No, because there's access everywhere. I could say hookers, right?
You think it's easier for men to get sex?
Heck yeah.
Well, then why would men be so lonely like you said?
Because you see, this is what I was getting at. It's the connection, right? It's not just about sex. Because if it was just about sex, just go get a hooker. It's about wanting to be desired. Because, and now why would one want to be desired? I don't know, maybe because there's a hole within the self where there is self-rejection, right? Because if there's no self-rejection, that means your cup is full of self. There's a full self-appreciation. So then the outside is not necessary. It's not a necessary need. It's just, it's just something you want. Okay. It doesn't fulfill a need. It goes along a different track. So if it was just about men wanting sex for sex's sake, guys can get hookers, right? They're not all disgusting fucking gutter trash. There's some really high-end hookers. Granted, they're not cheap, but that's the reality of it. And they're going to be clean because that's their fucking business, right? And, granted, you still don't want to go down on them if you're one of those guys who likes to eat pussy. But the fact of the matter is that if guys wanted sex, they could get it quite easily. I mean, unless you lived in the middle of fucking nowhere. But really, that's not what they're after. They're after an emotional connection. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel desired. It's not just sex. And this is where men feel desired. This is why when in a relationship, a woman is like, say, losing attraction, he doesn't look at it in the functions and the architecture of what's going on. He just takes that and on an emotional front and says that, basically saying without saying, that hurts my feelings. I'm feeling rejected. Fuck this bitch. Why doesn't she want to be with me? Why doesn't she want to suck my dick? And it starts hurting in the same way that, like, some kid gets rejected at school for wanting to ask the girl out on a dance and she says no.
Because men, they want to have the quote unquote perfect person, but if they can't get it, they are still going to get it somewhere else. They're just lonely and probably other fulfillments.
Are men more thirsty for sex, or are women more thirsty for attention?
God dang, I think the thirst for attention is everything. If I'm being totally honest, I know men are definitely horny creatures. I mean, let's be honest, that's just how the world works. But I think women are actually a little bit more hornier than men. And unfortunately, we live in a world where it makes it difficult for us to communicate that.
Yeah, women definitely like sex way more than men do. They love sex way more than guys do because, like I said, it's a link. It's not a compartmentalized thing. So it becomes a whole being experience for them. It's not just like, oh, I get off, right? It's a whole fucking process that takes them through like this mini journey. And it can actually, depending on what's going on, it can be a transformative process for them. No guys having like transformational sex, but women are. So, yeah, women like sex. They desire sex way more than guys do. They just have to say that they don't because of like social stigma, even today. And I think that, he was talking about attention versus this, that, it's just attention. That's all it is. Women want attention, men want attention, right? And and that just shows me that, guys today are just becoming more and more feminized. You're slowly becoming gynocentric.
Are women more interested in teasing men or pleasing men?
Teasing men.
Why do you say?
I think
'Cause they don't like
the
them.
need for attention is higher than the need for sex.
Why are women typically spoiled beyond their needs while men are deprived?
Wow, look at this lady. This lady looks like the future of so many girls today. Tattoos, choker, wearing clothes that are not befitting her age. This is the future for so many girls. And I don't typically say that because, I really don't like feeding into a lot of you guys' revenge fantasies. But I really do think that this is going to be the case for a lot of girls who are like in their 20s or 30s right now, maybe late 20s, early 30s. This is their future. And it's not going to look good.
Their basic needs.
Because in a marriage, men are willing to please the women for however long it takes, and they will spoil them to do that. But women will grow complacent from being spoiled. They will stop trying to please the man because they're already getting what they need.
If
Exactly.
men aren't deprived,
And that's why every single bit of what you have, what you are, and what you can do must be earned. And you have to be on top of it constantly. Like that has to be the structure of the relationship. And if you want to kick your feet up, if you want to relax, if you want a day off, then you shouldn't be managing a relationship. And if you're not managing a relationship, then it's going to turn into what that lady just said, right? Because energy has to flow in one direction or another. So if you're not controlling the flow to stay on your side, right, then it's going to automatically flow over to her. And then she's going to have control. You're going to be lazy. She's going to get complacent. And next thing you know, you're not in control, right? Like if you're in a relationship and you're watching this, ask yourself, am I the one in control? If it's not a simple yes, then you have work to do. If you say, well, it's complicated, or, well, it's sometimes, or it depends, you're not in control. You're not the leader of that relationship. And you should question whether you want to be. And if you don't want to be, hopefully you're in a situation where it's not required, right? Where the woman's looking for leadership. She's looking for that stress relief. She's looking for her brain to be off, okay? If she's not, and she's this type A leader type person herself, and she doesn't mind having a follower husband or a house husband, cool, you know? But those situations are quite rare.
Why do we use the word thirsty to describe men?
I think we kind of are deprived. I think the entire society is actually depriving us. I think we're not, like it's just not being told straight like
he said
that.
he said
being denied relation.
Hell. He said depriving us, you know, like it's being done to you. You guys realize that if you're not fucking, if you're not having access to women, women are respecting you, they're not desiring you, you realize that it's not their problem. It's not the government's problem. It's not society's problem. It isn't feminism's problem. It's your fucking problem. And the fact that you're looking for somewhere else outside of you to be the source of your problem shows that it's an even bigger problem than you think.
Relationships, families, it's all being lost. Yeah, we're being deprived.
Why are women more willing to admit that sex is a need for men than men will admit that sex is a need for men?
I think men just want to appear more evolved and more conscious, and like they have more of a choice, when really it is more of a animalistic behavior that they have not evolved from.
How are women literally bragging about their sexual power over men while men continue denying women's sexual power over men?
The patriarchy.
Well, I don't brag, but I guess I would say because
listen, yeah, you're always going to, if you are lustful for pussy, you will always be in a position of not being in control. Always. You will be a slave if you cannot control your lust. And it's a weird little game, because if you try to come off like you are that way, then it's even worse than just overtly showing that pussy controls you. So it's even worse when you have this addiction and you try to present as though it doesn't, and then you fucking like get one-itis over girls, or you go crazy when some chick stops wanting to fuck you. Like that's even worse, right? You have to get to the point where you genuinely are unaffected by pussy. You genuinely don't care. Being indifferent about it, okay? And being indifferent doesn't mean you don't have to like not enjoy it. Like I'm indifferent about ice cream, right? I still enjoy ice cream, but if I don't have it, it doesn't ever come into my mind like, oh man, I really need some ice cream, right? But if I'm passing by a spot or there's someone I'm with and they're like, hey, you want to go get some ice cream? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Like, that's fine. But it has no sway over me, right? It doesn't affect me. It's neutral. So if pussy doesn't feel like that, then you know you've got work to do.
like you said, men need, or it's a infatuation with sex. Men have an infatuation with sex.
They're needy.
So it's like, I hold the power because I got the cookie.
I think because women understand that that's where their power lies with men. Like as men, you know, we're not going to expose any chinks in the armor. There's no reason to do that. But for women, they understand exactly that you need the sex. That's why they're able to exploit us to the degrees that they are.
Are men weak for using OnlyFans, or are women lazy for using OnlyFans?
Neither. Women are empowered, men are getting what they want and paying for it.
I would say men are weak for using OnlyFans, because if they didn't use OnlyFans, the woman wouldn't be quote unquote lazy. She would actually have to do something else.
Smart girl.
People will just generally take the easy route, and because of that like inherent desire for sex and the fulfillment that guys get from that, it's so easy for girls to go and do OnlyFans because you get so much money from it and it's easy and whatever, because there's already an audience.
But you don't though. Most girls, I think the average is like $300 a month. Like most users on OnlyFans do not make a lot of money. They don't even make $1,000 a month, right? And that's with consistent, constant content creation. Wow, that's a lot. Consistent, constant content creation. That's that's not a whole lot of money. Like even $1,000 a month is not a lot of money. So these these people saying, oh, they make all this money and they're exploiting men. There's only a few channels who are like really part of that whole system of like, yes, sure, it all falls within the umbrella of exploitation, but it doesn't really feel that way because the profits aren't quite so high. You know, like let's say every girl on OnlyFans only made like $300 a month. Would that still seem like exploitation? You know what I'm saying? It seems that way due to the incredibly high revenue from only a few channels. And because that gains headlines, that gains sensational attention, it's like, oh my gosh, like look at how much money these girls are making just by shaking their ass. And then you take that knowledge and apply it to all the other girls who are shaking their ass on camera. Yet they're just making pennies by comparison. Okay. So yeah, look into that. Like you'll understand that most creators on OnlyFans make dirt. It's nothing. They're basically wasting their time and like crossing their fingers that they're going to blow up. Right. But the thing is that the market is saturated, right? It's completely saturated. Even at this point, I mean, just look at porn. Porn is free. It's completely saturated. And therefore it doesn't have quite the impact that it once did. Okay. Granted, it's still a huge moneymaker just overall globally, but the same thing is going to happen with OnlyFans. It's already oversaturated. It's like, what's fucking new about it? Nothing.
And set to buy something like that.
Why were feminists of the past anti-sex work, but today they are pro-sex work? What changed?
What's up, Dylan?
In the past, it was a male-dominated field where men were forcing women into it, and now women are choosing to be in it, and that's when it became empowering of women.
Does the fact that OnlyFans exists prove that women are okay being objectified as long as they're getting paid?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, social media has gave that platform the start that it needed. And now that they're in a situation where they can sit in the privacy of their own home and feel safe, they found an opportunity to monetize that.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you something, what I've learned when dealing with different forms of exploitation and basically just exposing a woman, as long as they feel that there's some sort of value exchange, they will go for it. Okay. Now I'm looking at it in terms of like a one-on-one between a man and a woman. There's things that I have my girls do that you would think is completely like morally debased. Okay. And it could be from a certain lens, and you would say like, why doesn't that girl feel exploited, right? To do certain things or say certain things or appear a certain way. And it's because of the value that she gets from me, right? And it's nothing monetary, it's emotional. So that's just to show you that the exchange doesn't even always have to be financial. If there's just a value, if there's a value exchange of some kind, yes, women will do whatever, right? And that's just the way many of them are.
Why is sexuality considered a human right for women and gays, but not for heterosexual men?
Honestly, I don't have the right answer for that, but I feel like it should be equal for everybody, no matter what.
Can you think of any sexual preference that's currently more shamed and profited off of than male heterosexuality?
I still, for me, maybe it's because I'm in the industry, but I think it's females always.
Does the sexual liberation of women come at the expense of men's sexual liberation?
Absolutely not. You know what? I lied. It does, because unfortunately, the female sexual liberation, it's a polar opposite. So whoever has the true liberation, the other one is at a disadvantage.
So can you think of any sexual preference that's currently more shamed and profited off of than male heterosexuality?
Ooh, sexual.
So the way shame works is it only is shameful if it feels shameful, right? So, you know, this guy, you know, on the screen, if I called him, you know, like, you know, the purple-headed, you know, whatever, some sort of like alien or whatever, if I tried to shame him about that, or if I like tried to shame him, say like about his hair, right? That's a better example. And if he had any kind of internal shame about his hair, then that would actually produce the feeling of shame because he already was carrying it. Okay. So shaming someone only is effective if someone is already carrying shame. If he's not carrying shame about, say, his hair, then it's not going to do anything. It's going to be like water off a duck's back. So when he's talking about being shamed for sexuality, many guys do. And I would say that you would be surprised at how many of my clients over the past 10 years carry shame. And this is still guys who are getting it in left and right. So it's not about just access. It has to do with relationship of the self, relationship to sexuality. It's like all these things are intertwined. And tons of guys carry around sexual shame, whether they're getting sex or not. And that's why when there's shame coming from social media, when it's coming from the news, when it's coming from various sources, you know, schools or what have you, it resonates because you're already carrying shame within you. If you have complete acceptance of who and what you are, then whatever anyone says, like, sure, like you can hear it, but it's just an opinion. It doesn't really cut in. There's no resonating. It's nothing. So, I mean, people have said certain things about my life choices, my sexual life choices, my lifestyle life choices. And it's not always been pleasant, but it doesn't bother me because none of what they say resonates with me because I don't carry guilt and I don't carry shame. So I hope that makes sense to you guys.
Preference that's shamed more than male heterosexuality. No.
Aren't they banking off of men's sexual frustration and emotional loneliness?
Absolutely. That's half of the economy here.
So do you think that society is incentivized to keep men sexually frustrated and lonely because sex sells?
Wait, so that implies that society is in control of whether you are lonely or not, or getting sex or not. That's fucking weak. I'm telling you, men are turning into women of the past. They're turning into women. They're looking for daddy state to take care of their mess. They're blaming something outside of them for their mess. If you have a problem in your life, it's most of the time it's due to your choices, your relationship to yourself, and what you're doing or not doing. That's what it comes down to. You are the cause and the cure for practically every problem in your life. I mean, unless you contract some fucking incurable disease, right? And that's just shitty, and it is what it is. But even the problems that stem from that, say depression or anger or what have you, that's still up to you.
I believe so. I think when it benefits, like for instance, after World War II, they made sure every man could get a woman, and you know, society progresses.
What, they made sure? What, like they're like, okay, ladies, line up, right? Every woman just grabbed a number and like stapled it to her chest like they were running fucking relays at the track and field. And the guys just kind of like went through, and the women were standing on a conveyor belt, just slowly going by. And the guys are like, okay, I'm going to take this one. All right. Next guy's like, I'm going to take this one and this one. Society made sure. Come on, get the fuck out of here.
If they wanted us to be in a better situation, I do believe we will be in that better situation.
Would you consider that to be sex big?
Wait. If they wanted us to be in a better situation, let's rewind.
Every man could get a woman, and you know, society progresses. If they wanted us to be in a better situation, I do believe we will be in that better situation.
So is that like the government or something like that? Like, who's they that's in control of whether men get women or not? Right? What the fuck is that? And they say, oh, well, they wouldn't allow something like OnlyFans, right? Then they would have to get jobs or whatever. I don't know what the fuck. Like, what would they do to make women desire losers? What are you going to do? Or what are they going to do, right? So, all right, so they'll say, all right, women can no longer vote. They can no longer own land. They can no longer have banks. They can no longer have jobs. They're just there and will die unless a man takes them in. Okay, is that what you're after? Right? Is that what they can do? Make women just completely dependent on a man, and therefore that could guarantee that losers will get a woman. Fucking hell.
Would you consider that to be sex bigotry?
It is. Absolutely.
So then how would masculinity or self-improvement fix this sex bigotry against men?
It's one of those things. It's almost like you have to kind of, it's like same way feminism, they push that onto all of us without our permission. We're going to have to assert ourselves without anyone's permission, and that's just reality.
Being masculine is almost a threat, or matter of fact, it is a threat. And so any way that they can tame that is to their advantage.
Do we fight race bigotry by telling
Wait, did he just say masculinity
blacks to sculpt themselves?
Masculine is almost a threat, or matter.
No, it's not a threat. You know what masculinity is? It's a savior. It's a savior for men, and it's a savior for women. It's not a threat. And the only guys who consider it a threat are guys who just aren't masculine. A fucking dog. Crazy. Well, sorry about that.
In fact, it is a threat. And so any way that they can tame that is to their advantage.
Do we fight race bigotry by...
Oh, and if your masculinity is able to be tamed, you're not fucking masculine. And if you fight tamed with anger and viciousness, then you're not masculine either. Masculinity is like a mountain made of granite. It doesn't fight. It's just immovable. It's quiet. It's calm. It's grounded. It is the fucking ground, right? Guys don't even fucking understand. They live in fantasy land when it comes to even masculinity.
Telling blacks to sculpt themselves to be better slaves?
Absolutely not. But in a way we do. And the reason why I say that is because slavery is so much more than the physical act of individuals being, indentured servitude. It's a situation where you can have slavery of the mind, of the spirit, of the emotional construct, and anything you can believe in.
Why is sex typically the first thing that's withheld when women don't get what they want?
Because that's the first thing a man wants.
It's our greatest power, and we learned that through years of sexual oppression.
Isn't that the same thing as using sex as a weapon against men?
Yes.
How could sex be used as a weapon against men? By denying them something that they want? Well, this is what I've mentioned many times before. There's a transition from animal to actual man with a capital M. And it has to do with a number of things, but one of the majors is not being moved by animalistic impulses. Okay? Like all these spiritual geniuses from a long time ago and shit like that, the ascetics and, men who would live in caves and so on, to some degree, they had a point. They had an understanding when it came to sex. And it's just like, you gotta know. I always say this: whenever there's desire, whoever's possessing the desire or the desired object or action has leverage. And like whether you get the thing or not, doesn't mean that you get the leverage back. They've just allowed you to. Just like playing the string with the cat and you stop pulling it so the cat can get it. The cat thinks it's won. No, you've just allowed the cat to catch it. It doesn't mean the cat has won. But to the cat, it has. It's like, haha. It's not putting the whole fucking thing together. All it's paying attention to is that little string, right? And it's like, haha, I got the fucking string. And it starts chewing it and kicking its feet and so on. In the cat's head, it fucking won. It's like he got the prey, okay? And then he can tell all of his cat buddies, like, yeah, man, I got that fucking piece of string. Look what I just did, you know? And that's not really what happens. His scope is too small. He doesn't understand what the fuck is going on, okay? I'm still the one in control. I allowed it to happen, right? And maybe I get some pleasure out of letting him catch it.
Do you think it's true that men use power to get sex while women use sex to get power?
Yes,
So why do women often claim victimhood by the very thing they use to get power?
because sometimes they don't willingly give it up, and that's when it becomes victimhood.
Do you think it's true that men use power to get sex while women use sex to get
Yes.
power? If all the men in the world were gay, how would women get power?
What a fantastic question. I have no
Mhm.
answer to.
True that men use power to get sex,
Wait,
the thing they use to get power.
Because sometimes they don't willingly give it up, and that's when it becomes victimhood.
Do you think it's true that men use power to get sex while women use sex to get
Yes.
power?
right. And this is coming from surface level things, right? So if you only operate in surface level of the world, right? And one of them is this example, power. I'm thinking of like power within the world, power from connections, power from having a lot of money, power from networking and things of that nature. That power is surface level power. Okay. Again, let's go back to Conan the Barbarian. That's the power of steel. That's not power of the flesh, the hands that moves the steel, right? The sword. And if you're operating in that way, then women, because they're reactive, responsive, following creatures, they will operate on the same way, right? They'll operate on the same level, okay, which is the surface level power engagements. When your understanding of power, right, and that's really more like force, right? You should guys read that book called Power versus Force, or Force versus Power. I can't remember which, but it's a good book. There's what I described is not actual power. What he's talking about is not power. He's talking about force. When you start understanding power and how it works, it doesn't matter about surface level things, right? And when you start affecting people beyond that surface level, then they start reacting on that level that you're coming at them with. All right. And so, like this girl, she's never experienced that before. I know she hasn't. And the interviewer hasn't either.
If all the men in the world were gay, how would women get power?
What a fantastic question. I have no answer to.
They wouldn't need it because the gays love the women, and they would give us it on our own.
Since men aren't all
Oh,
gay,
shit.
where do women actually
I
get
was
their
just-
power from?
I'm sorry. I was just talking. My mic was muted. I was talking about just control. Oh yeah. So sorry about that. There was I was going on about control. Oh, and this thing about gay guys and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, instead of talking about gay guys, you can then talk about what if men just had control over their sexual desires and their impulses, because at that point there is no leverage. Like, you give leverage to women. There's no leverage that a woman has once you control that shit, like that, for real, from a true, genuine, grounded place. And then at that point, you can then create all of your leverage points. You can then use your creativity, your imagination, and your influence to create tons of leverage points throughout the interaction of the relationship, and you can take it wherever you want it to go. And then, it just comes down to like you possibly getting bored, right? Okay, I can tell you, I get very bored of girls now, very quickly, very easily. All right, this dog's barking. I'll mute for a moment.
Living their lives, doing what they want, and pleasing themselves before others.
Can we agree that women get their power by manipulating straight men?
Sometimes, some women.
I mean, not really, honestly. I'm pretty direct about anything that I do. So, I mean, I guess it depends on your hustle, really.
Why do women pride themselves on manipulation as a skill when they already control what men want?
They don't control what men want. Men want money, men want power, men want success, and then men want.
Now, I mean, this is laying out so like clearly just the shit that I talk about all the time. These aren't men. This guy is blaspheming the title of man. It's an honor, not a right, to be called a man. It's not something that you're just born as. You're born as a male, and your purpose in life, your one and only purpose in this life, is to become a man. That's your only purpose. It has nothing to do with your vocation or your hobbies or your impact on the world. You become a man, that is your impact on the world. And it shows up in a myriad of different ways, but the reality is that is your purpose. That is your sole and most important purpose, which is to become a man. All right? And until that point, you're a fucking male. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how many trips around the sun you've taken. You're a male. And this is who gets exploited. This is who gets controlled by pussy. This is who gets dragged through fucking divorce court. This is who gets fucking played out by women and having their wallets emptied and getting fucking, scopomined in fucking Colombia. Right? Women are just acting like women, right? You don't turn on the Nature Channel and watch, like a tiger eating a fucking deer and go, what an evil, evil creature. No, it's just doing as a tiger does. Okay? And women are just doing as women do. But you hold on to resentment because you're looking for acceptance. You're looking for that, and because you're not getting it, it's just the only default that you have as a male is for criticism, vitriol, and this fucking revenge fantasy that so many of you are really into it. It's sad. It's sad. Like, men do not have revenge fantasies. They don't. Because for the most part, you're not in situations that you've created that would require you to have revenge. Right? It just doesn't happen. All right, let's finish this shit up.
Sex. And that is a thing that gets them power and success in their eyes.
I don't know. I was a stripper for a number of years and had to quit because I wasn't okay with the manipulation part. I couldn't do it.
What's the difference between a drug dealer exploiting an addict and women selling sex to a society of lonely men?
I don't believe there is really a difference there at all. I think it's kind of the same thing. The sex is serving as a type of drug even.
Who should we blame more, the drug addict or the drug pusher?
The pusher.
So why are we...
See, this is, again, surface level. The women are not the drug. The women are not the pusher. Males are their own drug pusher. They create this whole scenario, right? They turn women into the drug. They turn women into the drug pusher. Okay, they're not inherently a drug pusher or the drug itself. Okay, the drug is actually the feelings that guys get from the acceptance of women. The dopamine washes over them. They get butterflies in their stomach. They start braiding their hair, and they feel like a good girl again. This is what the drug is, okay? And because of the neediness and the attachment and the dependence, they transform the woman into a drug pusher, okay? She's not that way from the get-go. She's just a girl. That's it. It's just a little girl. I don't care fucking how old they are. They're still just little girls. Silly little girls. That's it. Okay? Excuse me. You transform them into something else by way of your attachment, by way of your neediness, by way of your anger, right? By way of your rage, by way of your grasping at them. That's when they transform. Okay? They're like light particles. You know, or was it light part? No, it was some other particle. If somebody knows in the chat, where under certain conditions it behaves one way, and then when it's observed, it behaves in a completely different way. I can't remember what that is. Something in physics, but that's how women are. By the observation or the interaction, be either mental interaction by a male's perspective of women, their belief of women, that transforms what women are. With their interactions physically, what they're doing will transform what the woman is, how she shows up to him. Okay? But the fact of the matter is that men experience something completely different. All right, let's.
Blaming simps buying OnlyFans instead of the women pushing OnlyFans.
Because the women never started pushing it. They just adapted to the system that was already pushing them without them wanting to be pushed.
Are women more likely to be forced into sex work to exploit men, or are men more likely forced to simp for sex to fulfill their needs?
Always men forced into simp. And like I said, there's a reality where the women are.
Are women more likely to be forced into sex work to exploit men, or are men more likely forced to simp for sex to fulfill their needs?
Always men forced into simp.
Forced to simp. Okay? Forced, right? Meaning not coerced, not encouraged, but forced. Someone or something is, this is what forced means, is making someone do something against their will or giving them no choice but to take a certain action. Okay? That's what he's saying. Again, male gynocentric thinking. I have no choice but to simp. You're not giving me any choice because you're in control. What did I say about control? If you're not in control, you fucking know that you're not in control. And this is what it's like. Then you start acting like a fucking victim, looking to be saved. That's what victims do. They look to be saved. They don't look, all right, how do I save myself? How do I solve this problem? How do I strengthen my situation? They say, I'm hurting, I'm alone, I'm a victim. Someone please come save me. It's somebody else's problem. That's fucking weak shit. This is, and then they go ahead and blame women for the crumbling of society. No, it's because males, just generation after generation, are becoming like fucking soft, warm baby shit. That's what it is. That's why things are falling apart. Because males are fucking weak. And it doesn't mean you have to be, angry and rough and gruff and tough and outspoken. No, you don't have to be like that. You just have to be like a fucking mountain made of granite. Immovable. Grounded in who and what you are. Right? It could be a fucking storm. A storm of the ages. A mountain is unmoved. It's pathetic.
And like I said, there's a reality where the women are the victims. Let's be honest about that. But look at us. We're in Las Vegas, baby. You're talking about strip clubs and prostitution and brothels of all lights, man. It's streetwalkers walking behind me right now. Maybe not them, but that's just the nature of the society we live in, unfortunately. Sex sells.
Who should we blame more, the drug addict or the drug pusher?
Each person's equally responsible. As a grown-ass adult, you make your own choices in the world.
So why are we blaming simps for buying OnlyFans instead of the women pushing
Who's blaming
OnlyFans?
them? We love them. Subscribe.
Exactly. See, he was trying to set up the dialogue to say men are victims, women are the assailants, and someone needs to pay. We need retribution, right? That's basically what he was saying. Like that this is not our fault. Hey, it's not my fault I'm a simp. It's not my fault that women are making money off of sex, right? It's not my fault that I plugged in my credit card to that website. It's not my fault. I was not in control, right? It's not my fault that I jerk off to these girls. It's not my fault that I started gaining an emotional bond with a complete stranger. It's not my fault. It's their fault. It's someone else's fault. It's the owners of OnlyFans. It's their fault. And I would say to these guys, why aren't you addicted to heroin? And they would probably say, well, I mean, I'm not interested in trying heroin. Okay, why not? I hear it's really fucking good. I hear a heroin high is amazing, right? And you can get it. It's not hard to find. If you really want heroin, if you're in a city, you can find heroin pretty easily. But you're not interested in that. Do you blame heroin? No, because you're not on the victim side of that thing. It doesn't relate to anything you're living in your life. Okay. But because this happens to be the certain affliction that you've got, then that's why the dealer of sex becomes this focus of yours, because you happen to be an addict. But the addiction hasn't anything to do with the dealer. The addiction has everything to do with your childhood. It has everything to do with your relationship to yourself. It has everything to do with how you're brought up as a kid, your first sexual experiences, your self-perception, your beliefs. Like, there's so many things that have to do with the fact that you are a victim. Because you're acting like a victim, but let's face it, like a lot of guys, like nothing like really terrible happened. Okay, a lot of guys, they're not growing up in, say, like abusive homes, okay, where something seriously traumatic happened. It was a slow transformational process that took a long time, and now you're in a state, and you're underdeveloped, and you're not getting the things that you think you need in order to feel whole from women. And without having a certain level of self-reflection, you're now blaming women for your pain. And you want daddy government to fix it for you. You want someone to come fix it for you. Sometimes maybe it's Andrew Tate. You want Andrew Tate to fix it for you. So you rally behind that guy, right? You want this guy, that influencer, this influencer. And you rally behind these guys. You're like, yeah. Like you're going to like start like a movement or some shit. And like things are going to change. No, because you're getting further and further away from the problem. And that problem is you. It's always been you. And until you have the fucking courage to look in the mirror, nothing's ever going to change. And like, well, that's hard. That's scary. That's uncomfortable. I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. I've been to therapy. Okay. All right. Have it your way. You know what's best. You know what's best. You'll figure it out. And before you know it, you're going to be the guy who's sitting alone at home with his fucking cats. Not the women. The women, like, no, that's you. You're just projecting when you talk about women like that. You're projecting. You're going to be the one sitting at home alone with his fucking 5 cats. 5 cats, a bottle of lube, and your fucking video games. It's sad. It's really sad. So if anyone watching this wants to fucking get out of that fucking paradigm, and you're sick of feeling like a fucking victim who blames everything in their life on somebody else or something else, get in touch with me. Drop me a line, justin@thedominanceacademy.com. Find me on Instagram and shoot me a line. And let's take care of this, right? Because no one is going to fucking do it for you. It's not going to be solved by getting more money. It's not going to be solved by going to the gym. However, those things will produce a certain element of comfort, confidence, make you feel a little bit better. You know, you like working out always will make you feel better. Making more money will make you feel better, but it's not going to solve your problem of self. It's not going to solve your problem of women, despite what you believe. They're like, oh yeah, like money and muscles, that's all you need. Yeah, maybe for attention from girls, which like expose the fact that you're just hung up on getting attention, right? Which makes you more feminine than masculine. You're still at that early frontal stage, okay? Of just like, please notice me. I just want to be noticed. You little bitch. Like, you're a child still. I just want someone to see me. Look at my muscles. Look at me, right? Look at how fancy of a lifestyle I've got based on my income. Somebody notice me, please. Am I worth it? Am I enough for you, mom? Right? It's like, but if you don't want to go down these paths and start actually dealing with yourself, you're never going to fucking win. And you can play justification gymnastics in your head all day long. It's not going to change the fact that you're fucking alone. You're thinking about getting a bunch of cats, and you've got, you know, a very boisterous streaming or Steam account with lots of games on it. Okay, you're gonna be like those Japanese guys who don't fucking engage with society anymore. It starts with a K. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a huge thing. The guys, they're not violent or anything like that, but just like fuck it. You know, like fuck society, not with any sort of bitterness. They're just like, they just stopped caring about everything. And they just stick to themselves. They're recluses. They just play games and probably eat packaged food. And they don't care. And I feel like that's part of the revenge fantasy, right? Like secretly they're like, you know what? Watch what happens. You want to make it hard for us? You want to make it so I have to fucking bend down and beg for a woman, beg for pussy and this, that, the other. You're going to make it difficult and make me scared to get married and all this shit. Okay, I'm just gonna not play and watch what happens. Still, as part of the fucking revenge fantasy, no one gives a flying fuck about you. No one. No one gives a flying fuck about you. And it only hurts is because part of you is wishing that someone would. But the funny thing is that part of you is just waiting for yourself. It's just waiting for yourself to give a shit about you. But you can't do it because you've trained yourself to need it from other people, or you've been trained, right? It's probably a mixture of both, conditioning plus your own training. You're not going to get through this way. So if you want to get through, you're going to have to be taught how to get through. Because otherwise, it's like trying to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Shout out to Alan Watts. So, all right, guys. I'm going to call it quits here and get into some other shit. So thank you for joining me on the stream. You guys have yourself a good afternoon, and we'll catch you on the next one.